Good morning. Time for convening has arrived. Senate will come to order. At this time, we'll ask all unauthorized personnel to exit the chamber. Recognize the senator from the 6th for the reading of the journal.
Good morning, Mr. President. Happy February 28th, this fine Friday in the great state of Georgia. Mr. President, 140 years ago today, AT&T was incorporated right here in this great state. And two of our doorsmen and women are retired from AT&T, Scott Center and Ann Guy. So 140 years AT&T, that's great. We got a great list of pages here, Mr. President. Out of Atlanta, Reed Alexander. From Cornelia, Kalia Collett. From Gainesville, Walker Davis. From Cumming, our very own Senator Dolezal's daughter, Naomi. From Johns Creek, Zara Duque Vasquez. From Cumming, Nolan Kitchen. From Kennesaw, Lauren Ledford. Also from Kennesaw, Aleb McBrayer. From Hampton, Tavion McElrathbay. From Gainesville, Mason McGill. From Kennesaw, Ava Miller. From Ackworth, Lily Mueller. From Cartersville, Emmeline Norad. From Cumming, Kirthana Pillay. From Cumming, Pranavi Sagaturu. From Clarksville, we have brother and sister McKay and Joseph Stapleton. From Jefferson, Carter Varnado. And from Marietta, we've got Kate Wyman. Y'all give our pages a big round of applause. We appreciate y'all being here, helping us do the people's business here in the Georgia State Senate. Mr. President, the journal has been read and found to be correct.
Thank you, Senator. Is there objection to dispensing of the reading of the journal? Chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading and references to Senate bills and resolutions. Mr. Secretary.
Senate Bill 293 by Senator Anderson of the 24th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 40-2.
Public Safety.
Senate Bill 294 by Senator Summers of the 13th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 3 of the Fish Code.
Regulated Industries.
Senate Bill 295 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 8.
Education and Youth.
Senate Bill 296 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 6 Title 4.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 297 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 8.
Finance.
Senate Bill 298 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, bill to be entitled an act to amend
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 299 by Senator Walker of the 20th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 17 Title 45 of the
Veterans.
Senate Bill 300 by Senator Jones of the 10th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 9 of Article 6.
Education and Youth.
Senate Bill 301 by Senator Williams of the 25th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 3 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to state flag.
Slow-go General.
Senate Bill 302 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th, a bill to be entitled an act to provide a homestead exemption. Senate Bill 303 by Senator Moore of the 53rd and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 1 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated.
Ethics.
Senate Bill 304 by Senator Anderson of the 24th and others, bill to be entitled.
Finance.
Senate Bill 305 by Senator Anderson of the 43rd and
Public
others.
Safety.
Senate Bill 306 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section.
Finance.
Senate Bill 307 by Senator Islam Parks of the 7th and others, bill to be
Health and
entitled.
Human Services.
Senate Bill 308 by Senator Islam Parks of the 7th and others, bill to be entitled an act
Health
to
and
amend.
Human Services.
Senate Bill 309 by Senator Mangum of the 55th and others, bill to be entitled.
Education.
Senate Bill 310 by Senator Mangum of the 55th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia.
Economic Development.
Senate Bill 311 by Senator Mangum of the 55th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 4.
Transportation.
Senate Bill 312 by Senator Mangum of the 55th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7, Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to
Economic Development.
Senate Resolution 292 by Senator Cowser of the 46th and others, a resolution authorizing the Senate
Rules.
special. Senate Resolution 301 by Senator Davenport of the 17th and others, a resolution creating the Senate Rosenwald School Study Committee and for other purposes.
Education and Youth.
Senate Resolution 309 by Senator Tillery of the 19th and others, a resolution proposing.
Rules.
Mr. President, that completes the order.
First reading and references of House bills.
House Bill 94 by Representative Lumsden of the 12th and others, a bill to be entitled.
Insurance and Labor.
House Bill 113 by Representative McDonald III.
Government Oversight.
House Bill 143 by Representative Dickey of the 134th and others, a bill to be entitled.
Natural Resources.
House Bill 163 by Representative Ridley of the 22nd and others, bill to be entitled Act to amend.
Agriculture.
House Bill 169 by Representative Canada of the 176.
Finance.
House Bill 187 by Representative Washburn.
Regulated Industries.
House Bill 227 by Representative Dickey of the
Health
134th.
and Human Services.
House Bill 241 by Representative Rhodes of the 124th.
Banking.
House Bill 254 by Representative Buckner of the 137th and others, bill to be entitled Act.
State Properties.
House Bill 267 by Representative Bonner of the 73rd and others, bill to be entitled Act to amend various titles of the official code of Georgia.
Judiciary.
House Bill 329 by Representative Hilton of the 48th.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 401 by Representative Irwin of the 32nd.
State and Local Government.
House Bill 428 by Representative Franklin of the
Health and
160.
Human Services.
House Bill 538 by Representative Chiokas of the
State and
150.
Local Government.
House Bill 553 by
State and
Representative.
Local Government.
House Bill 568 by Representative Scoggins.
State and Local Government.
House Bill 591 by
State and
Representative.
Local Government.
House Bill 592 by Representative
State
Gunn.
and Local Government.
Mr. President, that completes the order.
Hello, Representative Williamson. It's good to have the representative from Walton County in here. It's good to have the representatives from Walton County in here. So what do we owe this honor today for, sir? Well, you need to, sir. You need to. Glad to have you, though. All right. Secretary will read reports of standing committee.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 63, due pass. Senate Bill 124, due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 148, due pass by substitute. Senate Resolution 217, due pass, respectfully submitted. Senator Hickman of the 4th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Higher Education has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 181, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted. Senator Burns of the 23rd District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 121, due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 201, due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 230, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted. Senator Walker of the 20th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 36, due pass. Senate Bill 132, due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 207, due pass. Respectfully submitted. Senator Strickland of the 42nd District, Chairman. Dear Mr. Secretary, pursuant to Senate Rule 2-1.6, I hereby give notice I will introduce a minority report to be read along with the majority report of Senate Bill 36, which was passed by the Committee on Judiciary on Thursday, February 27, 2025. Sincerely, Senator Jones. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and the Environment has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 240, due pass. House Bill 167, due pass. House Bill 287, due pass. Respectfully submitted. Senator Anderson of the 24th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 213, due pass. Senate Bill 254, due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 241, due pass. Respectfully submitted. Senator Cowser of the 46th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Rules has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Pursuant to Senate Rule 2-1.10b, the Committee on Rules has referred the following legislation from the general calendar. Senate Bill 64, the Committee on Rules. Senate Bill 162 to the Committee on Rules. House Bill 92 to the Committee on Rules. Respectfully submitted, Senator Brass of the 6th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on State and Local Governmental Operations has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 238, due pass. House Bill 404, due pass. House Bill 468, due pass. House Bill 498, due pass. House Bill 476, due pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Dixon of the 45th District, Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary, read resolutions for the second time.
Senate Bill 26 by Senator Rett of the 33rd and other state income taxes with regard to military retirement income to determine and apply a cost of living adjustment to the amount of allowable retirement pay require the State Revenue Commissioner. Senate Bill 62 by Senator Moore of the 53rd, Defend the Guard Act, enact. Senate Bill 117 by Senator Williams of the 25th and others, public officers and employees, a misdemeanor offense for violations regarding complaints by public employees, provide. Senate Bill 151 by Senator Beach of the 21st and others, Joint Development Authority of North Fulton Municipalities Act, enact. Senate Bill 170 by Senator Jackson, the 41st, and others. Georgia Interagency Council for the Homeless, create. Senate Bill 220 by Senator Brass, the 6th, and others. Putting Georgia's Patients First Act, enact. Senate Bill 233 by Senator Brass, the 6th, and others. A Behavioral Health Reform and Innovation Commission, revise the subcommittee. Senate Bill 252 by Senator Halpern, the 39th, and others. Real and personnel property, conveyance of municipal property interests to independent school systems, provide. Senate Resolution 8 by Senator Anna Vitarte, the 31st, and others. Deputy Brandon Cunningham Memorial Intersection, Paulding County, dedicate. Senate Resolution 231 by Senator Albers, the 56th, and others. Officer Jeremy Labont, Memorial Interchange, Fulton County, dedicate. House Bill 117 by Representative Petraea, the 166, and others. Food service establishments require notification of the country of origin of seafood items. Mr. President, that completes the order.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Really? Senator from the 33rd doesn't have anybody? Wow. I'm shocked. No motions to excuse. Recognize the senator from the 44th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 7th for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 7th is excused. Senator from 56.
Good morning, Mr. President. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 48th for business inside the Capitol.
All right. Without objection, the senator from the 48th is excused. Any other motions? Secretary will call the roll. Senator, signify your presence by voting the yea switch. Secretary, unlock the machine. It is now time for our morning devotion. All senators, please take your seats and cease all conversation. I would ask that the doorkeeper secure the chamber at this time. I've got our agriculture chairman, a good senator from the 8th District, who will lead us in our pledge and introduce our pastor of the day. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. President. Please join me in the pledge to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Georgia state flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation, and courage. Well, thank you, colleagues. Today it's my honor to have Garrett Grubbs. Garrett is the senior pastor of Crossroads Baptist Church in Valdosta, Georgia, and the current vice president of the Georgia Baptist Convention. He's been married to his wife, Tracy, for 24 years, and they have 2 children, Caleb and Cheney. He considers it a privilege to serve the Lord and minister to the people of Georgia through his local church. And I just want to also add, it was not planned today, but the president of this body and I are both wearing our TCB ties, which y'all know that was Elvis Presley's motto, taking care of business. And I know we always seek in this chamber to take care of business on behalf of the people of Georgia, but I think today it stands for taking care of the Baptists. So, Pastor, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you today. It's a privilege. I know I only have 3 to 5 minutes, and so for a Baptist pastor, that is a lot of pressure on me. And so today, if you have your Bibles or you can pull them up, we're going to look at Psalms 127 and talking about a life of a lasting legacy. Over the past 6 months, I had the, opportunity to officiate both my father and my brother's funeral. And during that time, I have just been reminded of the importance of living a life that actually makes an impact in this world. And so for you as senators in the great state of Georgia, it's a great opportunity for you to represent the communities that you're from. And I pray that during this devotion today, God would remind you of how your life can have a lasting legacy. And Psalms 127, this is Solomon speaking here. He says, "Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchmen stay awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise early and you go to bed late, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he has given to the beloved sleep." The first thing that I want to encourage you with a life of legacy is this. You have to know the Lord. You have to have a personal relationship with him. Again, he says, unless the Lord builds the house, we build it and labor in vain. The second is this, that it is daily dependency on his guidance. As the psalmist said, a lamp unto our feet, light unto our path is what the word is supposed to be. But he says again, unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchmen stay awake in vain. Verse 2, when it talks about in vain we rise early and go to the rest late and eat the bread of anxious toil. There's been countless times my life has been spent on things that are lesser and has left me with anxiety, fear, and stress. But when we trust the Lord and partner with him, we have his provision and we have his grace. The last is this. We have to find pleasure in his purposes being fulfilled. I love the part in verse 3 where he says, for he gives his beloved, and this word beloved here means child loved by God. For all of us that have a relationship with the Lord through Jesus, we are his children and we're loved by God. Today as you are here, I pray that you are building a lasting legacy, that when your loved ones are at your funeral, that they're able to say that this person had more than just an impact, they had a kingdom impact. The only way that's accomplished is through knowing God and having a relationship with him, daily counting on his dependency to accomplish his task through your life. And third, finding pleasure in his purposes being fulfilled in and through you. Let's pray. Father, today we give you praise because you are the one that is worthy of it. And God, I thank you for the men and women that are represented here in this room today, the communities that they represent all around our great state. Lord, I pray that, Lord, you've called them to this purpose and this task. And I pray today that they would trust you, that they would know you, and Father, they would follow you. God, I pray blessing over their lives. I pray blessing over their families. I pray, Lord, that their communities are blessed because of their representation. God, I lift them to you today, and I ask, God, that you would cover them with your grace. And Lord, for all of us in this room, that when we leave this earth, that we've left it with an impact that brings honor to your name. And for our families, that God, they treasure the thoughts of our lives and their lives. God, thank you for the men and women again, and I ask that you cover them with your grace. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
We have our doctors of the day, and to introduce our doctors of the day, we'll ask the senator from Hall County, Georgia, to introduce our doctors of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Glad it's Friday. I want to introduce to you today a couple folks from my hometown in Gainesville, Georgia, in Hall County. I've got Dr. Catherine West with me this morning, and Dr. West received her Bachelor of Arts in Neuroscience from Dartmouth College. She then completed a Master's in Science at Georgetown University before attending Emory School of Medicine, where she graduated summa cum laude. She completed her emergency medicine residency at Carolinas Medical Center, serving as chief resident in her final year. After residency, she joined the faculty at Carolinas Medical Center for 3 years before moving back to Georgia in 2019. There, she serves as the Associate Program Director for Emergency Medicine, the residency program at Northeast Georgia Medical. Dr. West enjoys taking care of members of her community and feels honored to be able to serve a diverse patient population every day. She believes that prioritizing education further advances the quality and availability of care in our community and is excited to help establish a new emergency medicine residency program. Her academic interests include education, simulation, and ultrasound. In her free time, Dr. West enjoys spending time outdoors with her family. Also, we have Nikhil Patel. He's a proof of concept here today. He's in the residency program there. He's a second-year resident at the program there at Northeast Georgia Medical Center, and I served on an advisory council there at the hospital for about 4 years, and the program there is just amazing. So we really do appreciate everything that they're doing for our community. He hails from Columbus, Georgia. He went to med school in Moultrie and came back to Gainesville just a couple years ago to do his residency. So welcome Nikhil Patel and Miss Catherine West, please.
Hey everybody, like he just said, I'm Nikhil Patel, one of the second-year residents over at Northeast Georgia Medical Center in the emergency medicine program. I just wanted to say thank you all very much. You know, I know that you guys have been working very hard on funding for residency programs within Georgia, and I'd like to say that I'm kind of proof of concept that, you know, someone who was born and raised in Georgia can kind of get this medical education thanks to you guys and hopefully come back and kind of serve with you. So, thanks.
All right, good job. Good job, Doc. Good to have you here. We have a special guest here. We're celebrating a young lady who's served here in this Capitol building for over 25 years, and Senator from the 19th is rightfully want to show and illustrate what a great work she has done for us here at the Capitol, and all the many legislators that she served as an administrative assistant for. Secretary, read the caption, please.
Senate Resolution 281 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, Strickland of the 42nd, Hatchett of the 50th, Hodges of the 3rd, and Eccles of the 49th. A resolution recognizing and commending Talmadge James on the occasion of her retirement and for other purposes. And whereas, for the past 25 years, she has diligently and conscientiously devoted countless hours of her time, talents, and energy toward the betterment of the daily operations of the Georgia General Assembly. And whereas Talmadge James began her career with the House of Representatives in April of 1999 after previously serving as a session assistant in 1998. And whereas she faithfully assisted both the House and Senate members during her service in the Governor's Floor Leader's Office, and she currently serves in the House Majority Leader's Office. And whereas she has been united in love and marriage to her husband Leroy for more than 25 years and is the loving mother and grandmother of her 2 remarkable children, 2 wonderful stepchildren, and 5 outstanding grandchildren. And whereas Talmadge James will be sorely missed upon the occasion of her retirement on March 1st, 2025, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize and commend Talmadge James for her 2.5 decades of service to the citizens of the state of Georgia, congratulate her upon the grand occasion of her retirement, and extend sincere best wishes for her continued health and happiness. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Recognize the senator from the 19th to speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members of the Senate. Ms. Talmadge James has worked for our body in the Governor's Floor Leader's Office for 25 years, and the members that you see standing behind me here are the members that have had the privilege and pleasure of working with Ms. Talmadge. While she was assigned to the House, she helped the Senate members just the same, helped us with constituent issues, other matters that come as you work with a floor leader office. So all of us wanted to stand up here today and honor her on the day of her retirement. Ms. Talmadge is a heck of an athlete. She used to run around the Capitol and then run marathons and everything else afterwards. But her health in these years is requiring her to retire today, actually. It's her last day. Up here on the podium with us, we also have her husband, Mr. Leroy. They've been married for 30 years, is that right? 30 years, and 2 of her children, Onyx and Ebony, and their friends who are up here too. And we just wanted to say, Ms. Talmadge, it has been a pleasure. We are sorry that you have to leave us. We understand it's a hard decision for you, but we are better because you are here, and thank you so much for everything you've given us and given this state.
All I can say is thank you all very much. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve these 25 years. I've enjoyed working with the senators and House members, and it's been my best honor to serve all these years. Thank you so much.
We usually don't do special presentations on Friday, but circumstances change those for Ms. Talmadge and also for Senator from the 10th here. But we do have a special presentation that the Senator has for us today. Secretary, read the announcement. Read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 285 by Senator Jones of the 10th and others, a resolution recognizing February 28th, 2025 as Andrew J. Young Day at the State Capitol and for other purposes. Whereas Andrew J. Young has earned worldwide recognition as a pioneer and champion of civil and human rights, who has dedicated more than 65 years to public service through roles in government, diplomacy, and advocacy, and whereas through his leadership, countries throughout the world have created a successful model that combines religion, education, democracy, and free enterprise in ways that support the public good. And whereas the devotion of his time, efforts, and energy to the service of others and his many achievements are worthy of recognition during this special time, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize February 28th, 2025 as Andrew J. Young Day at the State Capitol in honor of his extraordinary contributions to civil rights, diplomacy, public service, and economic development. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. The resolution is adopted. Recognize the Senator from the 10th.
Senator from the 39th, going first. Well, it's always an honor to stand up to celebrate the extraordinary legacy of a man who has been a friend, a mentor, and an inspiration to me and so many others, Ambassador Andrew Young. But there's no better time than on this last day of Black History Month 2025 to recognize him. Ambassador Young has guided my journey in ways that words can hardly capture. His wisdom, unwavering faith, and deep commitment to justice have shaped not only my path, but also the path of countless leaders and change makers across generations. He has shown us how to lead with courage, how to serve with humility, and how to stand firm in the fight for equity and dignity for all people. And if that's not enough, he is a man of great wit, and even at age 92, he'll be 93 next month, he possesses a better memory than most of us in this room. So thank you, Ambassador Young, for your friendship, your mentorship, and unyielding commitment to making this world a better place for us all. May his legacy continue to inspire future generations to continue moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And I have the great honor of sharing a little bit about a man who really doesn't need any introduction to anyone in this body or across this great state. Ambassador Andrew Young is a man whose life is deserving of our recognition today, so I am proud and honored to sponsor Andrew Young Day today. I just want to share with you a few historical facts about Ambassador Andrew Young, who I consider my mentor and my friend. He was born 1932 in New Orleans, though we claim him in Georgia as our own. His parents taught him the importance of giving back to the community, a lesson he would carry throughout his remarkable journey. He pursued his education, diligently earning a Bachelor's of Science in biology from Howard University in 1951, and a divinity degree from Hartford Theological Seminary in 1955. Ambassador Young wanted to be with us here today, but you got to understand at his young age, as I always say, he was unable to be here today, but I said, Ambassador, we're going to recognize you anyway. You see, Ambassador Young was a key aide to Martin Luther King Jr. He became a strategist in pivotal protests, including the Birmingham campaign and a March on Washington in 1963. He helped draft the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and even the Voting Rights Act of 1965, cornerstones of American equality. From 1964 to 68, he was executive director of the SCLC following Dr. King's assassination. Ambassador Young recalled that he gave purpose and substance to his life by serving under the tutelage of Dr. King. His commitment to global progress led Jimmy Carter to appoint him as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations in 1977, and that's when our lives crossed paths. In his role, he championed human rights and economic advancement in developing countries, shaping U.S. foreign policy. But you see, Ambassador Young wasn't done because he returned to the red clay of Georgia that he loved so very much. Here, he served as the mayor of Atlanta for 2 terms from 1981 to 1990. His leadership brought in over 1,100 businesses, over $70 billion in foreign direct investments, and generated over 1 million jobs. Beyond politics, Ambassador Andrew Young's dedication to service continued to shine even till this day. In 1994, President Bill Clinton appointed him to oversee the $100 billion Southern Africa Development Fund. He co-founded Good Works International, a consulting group that promotes initiatives to improve conditions in Africa and in the Caribbean. Ambassador Young is just one of those kind of individuals that God sent to us once in a generation. And I am very thankful to have had the honor to know him along with my colleagues that stand with us today. You see, it is his shoulders that we stand on in this great state of Georgia, not just in Georgia, but across these United States. And Mr. President, if it's okay, please share with us this 90-second tribute that we put together. And thank you, Megan, for this 90-second tribute to our friend, my mentor, first Black U.S. Congressman from the state of Georgia, Mayor, and even Ambassador to the United States,
it has to start
Andrew Young.
with you. Yep. And then it's easy for you to be at peace with your brother. And I've even learned to make peace with my enemy. And that was the year I went to college. It was also the year Martin Luther King went to college. So since we were about 15, we've all been working and dreaming about how to bring peace on earth and goodwill to all men and women and children. That's it. And it's been one way or the other, that's been my life's work.
Thank you, Ambassador. We love you. God bless you.
Are there any unanimous consents? Hearing none. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Recognize the senator from the 7th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. You might, fellow senators, you might notice you might have a goodie bag on your desk with some snacks.
I would like to say Assalamu alaikum, which means peace to be upon you. Muslims all over the world recognize one another with this greeting. I'm certainly grateful to share my culture with this body, with the Muslim and non-Muslims among us. I rise today to recognize that the holiest month of the year in the Islamic calendar begins tonight. Ramadan commemorates the revelation of the Holy Quran, which is the Muslims' holy book. We fast each day from sunup to sundown with no food or water to deepen a spiritual connection with God. And we are encouraged to practice patience, cultivate compassion, and develop discipline. Many Muslims spend long nights at the mosque, breaking the fast with one another, praying long hours into the night. Muslims observe special night prayers during the month of Ramadan, spending lots of time at their local mosque. Usually people break their fast by eating a date in the tradition of Prophet Muhammad. The month ends with a major holiday called Eid al-Fitr. Eid is one of the 2 holidays in the Islamic year. And Muslims take the day off work or school to spend time with family and celebrate the end of Ramadan, which I will get to do with all of you. There are gift bags on your desk, courtesy of the Georgia chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. And these bags contain snacks and a little page explaining the importance of Ramadan and some of the basics of Islam. I encourage you to read it. I hope the Senate can take this as an opportunity to learn more about Islam and Muslims as the 2nd largest religion in Georgia after Christianity. Muslims are all over the state of Georgia, and I encourage you to get in touch with the mosques in your district. Happy Ramadan. Thank you, and I yield the will.
Recognize Senator from 56.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today we're going to have the great honor to recognize and honor the incredible men and women who serve in emergency medical services. These dedicated professionals, our EMTs and paramedics, are critical first responders that work tirelessly and often in some of the most challenging conditions to provide life-saving care when every second counts. I'm pleased up in the gallery today we have several of those here, including Mr. Chad Black, who's the chairman of our Georgia EMS. Would all those involved with the EMS please rise so we can recognize you this morning? A unanimous resolution was passed in their honor. Their courage, skill, and unwavering commitment made a profound difference in each one of our districts. Whether responding to accidents, medical emergencies, or natural disasters, they are always ready, day and night, to serve those in need. On this EMS Day, we extend our deepest gratitude to those everyday heroes. Their service reminds us the importance of preparedness, teamwork, compassion, and saving lives. Let us not only celebrate their dedication today, but continue to support and advocate for the resources they need in each one of our communities to complete their vital work. To all our EMS professionals throughout our state, thank you for your service and your sacrifice, and may God bless you. And specifically, we had some of our critical first responders in Cobb County, where 6 of us in this Georgia Senate represent, respond to a house fire last night. And it was through the EMS and firefighters there that they were to help several people, although we lost 1 life. A couple of our firefighters were injured, but I'm thankful to report that they have minor injuries and will be okay. Another real-time example that happens each and every day where our EMS services are out there saving people's lives. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Recognize Senator from the 29th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I believe there are some 9th grade students here from Flint River Academy, if they would stand. Flint River Academy is a private school in Meriwether County and another opportunity for parents to take control of their children's education. We appreciate all they do there for our students in District 29 and all they do to create good, strong men and women to serve here in the state of Georgia as citizens and leaders. Please help me in welcoming and thanking the Flint River Academy of Meriwether County. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
They have some good athletes over at Flint River Academy. Glad to have Flint River Academy here. So, recognize the senator from the 30th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for that segue because we got some more outstanding athletes. I would like to recognize some outstanding athletes who are with us today in the gallery. I'm honored to have the Class A state championship team or competitive cheerleading team from Bremen High School joining us this morning. The Blue Devils are led by their dedicated coaches, Jessica Patterson and Taylor Griffin. If I could have the team stand, are they in the gallery with us? If y'all would, please give these young ladies and state champions a warm welcome from the Senate. Thank y'all so much for being here, and congratulations to your state title. We appreciate you.
Recognize senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and y'all. The senator from the 6th and I are co-chair of the Taiwanese caucus, and this Monday we will be serving lunch to anybody who wants to come down and join us, and also meet the Consul General from Taiwan. So don't forget, I'll remind you again next Monday, bring your appetite with you. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from the 17th. I understand today, or actually tomorrow, is a very special day for you tomorrow, Senator. It's your birthday tomorrow, is what I said. Everybody give the senator from the 17th a big happy birthday round of applause.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I rise today to simply say that it is Georgia Caregivers Day today at the Capitol. We want to make sure that we let the caregivers know how important they are. They take care of their loved ones or take care of the persons that they need to all the time. And it's a real sacrifice, but they do it with love. You know, if you're a caregiver, you have to cut back on a lot of activities. You have to cut back on boards. You have to say, I really can't do it at this time. And you want to spend all that time with your family or with the person that you're giving care. And then once they pass, you say, I would do it all over again if I had to. So today we want the citizens of Georgia to know that this is your day, and you are the caregiver, and the Georgia State Senate are compassionate enough to say that we appreciate you and we value you. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Recognize senator from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, today we have some Indian community that the last day of that Black History Month, they're organizing a lunch today at the Building Bridges Committee, Connecting Communities. We're going to be at the Capitol from 12 at the Mayor's Room 1, I guess, Mayor's 1. Please join us for the lunch. Thank you. Try some Indian good food, I guess. Appreciate it.
Recognize Senator from the 55th.
Shit. I'm gonna have to just let it go. I don't have it. No, I don't have it.
I sent it to your Senate.gov email.
I got it. Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I rise today on this point of personal privilege to address a couple of matters. Number one, today is February 28th, and not only do we celebrate Reverend Dr. Andrew Young, it is his day, but this is a day that we recognize the power of a prayer that is a different type of prayer that I'm asking you to pray with me, those that are in support of a United States of America, one nation, indivisible, with justice, not just for the rich and the powerful and the privileged and the billionaires and the oligarchs, but for all. This was the Pledge of Allegiance that we had a moment ago. Today is February 28th. It will go down as a day where it makes no difference in certain quarters, but today I'm asking those of you who support diversity, equity, and inclusion, because we were included in the United States of America, not the divided states of America. And we come today asking you to view where you spend dollars as a sort of prayer. Today, if you believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm asking you not to spend one dime or not $1 today. And I know that's going to be hard for some people, but not one dime or not $1. Why? Because our nation is under attack.
is misguided. And in Georgia, it's all right to tell a man to lift himself by his own bootstraps, but it's cruel just to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. More than 80,000 Georgians have their livelihood stripped away. Yes, they are threatened because we have more than 80,000 federal workers in Georgia. We have CD workers, CDC workers, we have FAA workers, people that are being threatened, 80,000 people, and there is an executive order saying four people will lose their job and we will keep one. 4 people will keep their job and we will keep one. This will cause a recession. This will cause economic upheaval. This will cause frantic. People will not be able to pay their mortgages. People will not be able to pay just to take care of their kids, take care of eggs, to go and make a livelihood for themselves. It will precipitate an economic chaos in our community. And I'm asking you guys to stand up. And stand up because unless someone stands up and allows injustice to proceed, it is a threat to justice everywhere. Thank you. I will voice again February 28th as a day to put a steering wheel on your dollars, because your dollar is a type of prayer, a request for what you want, and we want justice, equity, one nation indivisible with justice for all. I yield the well.
Senator from the 9th. I think this is our last one.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple of things I want to mention today. I want to recognize the Coalition of Hindus of North America. They are visiting us today, and they are here to help us celebrate Black History Month as we close. And they are hosting their annual Building Bridges, Connecting Communities event here at the Capitol. They're in Mez 1 today. They do have lunch. It's 12 o'clock, so please stop by and go and greet our friends of the Kohana Hindus of North America. Go by and say hello. And I just want to say, as we close on this celebration of Black history, we are reminded that our history is more than a reflection of the past. It's a call to action. It's a call to action for the future and where we want to be. And let's use the legacy of Black trailblazers who fought for justice and equity and opportunity. And let's do the work so we can continue, what they put down for us and the work that they've done for all of us. So just think about that as we close out on our last day of Black history. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. All right. Senator from the 19th. It's just because of who you are.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's actually because of who you are. Thank you very much. I'm up here today just as a personal point of pride. There was a little fellow who lived in mine and my wife's house for a few months, and when he came there, he had some issues reading. But today, he's moved on to a different home, and he is the student of the month back where he lives now. And I just want to say, little fellow, we're really, really proud of you. Keep doing awesome things. We always knew you could do it. Mr. President, I yield the well.
You have before you a consent calendar of privilege resolutions. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution on the consent calendar? Chair hears none. The resolution on the consent calendar is adopted. Secretary will read a resolution. You ready?
Senate Resolution 306 by Senator Islam Parks of the 7th, resolution recognizing and commending Rahim Shah Akumkal and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to the resolution? Chair hears none. Resolution is adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw or commit? You have before you a consent calendar of local bills. Ms. Secretary, have there been any objections to any bills on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, no objections have been filed.
Is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee on state and local governmental operations, which is favorable to the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar? Chair hears none. Report of committee is agreed to. Questions on the passage of the bill on the local consent calendar? All those in favor will vote yea, opposed nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 1. This bill on the local consent calendar, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Recognize the senator from the 51st.
Good morning, Mr. President. I move that we engross Senate Bill 152 at this time.
The majority leader has moved. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 152 by Senator Dolzo the 27th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 2B of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated related to the Georgia Promise Scholarship Act so as to provide that the biological or adopted children of individuals who are foster parents who meet certain conditions shall qualify for Promise Scholarship accounts, to provide for such conditions, to provide for definitions, to provide for related matters, to provide for an effective date, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? There is objection. All those in favor of the majority leader's motion will vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. Senator from the 44th, for what purpose do you rise?
Yes, Mr. President, isn't it true that the normal explanation for engrossment is bills out of finance or ethics? And isn't it true, Mr. President, that this is a bill that came out of the Education Committee?
Senator is passionate about what she speaks.
And isn't it true, therefore, that that sort of exposes the normal rationale and those that are interested in perfecting legislation and having a robust legislative debate in this body should all vote against this motion?
Senator, you still will be able to debate the bill, but you're duly noted. On the passage of the motion, the yeas are 31, the nays are 22, and the motion has prevailed. Senator from the 35th, for what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 41st.
41st? Without objection, the senator from the 41st is excused. Moving on to the rules calendar. Secretary will read the caption for Senate Bill 88.
Senate Bill 88 by Senator Bearden of the 30th and others, bill to be entitled Act to amend Code Section 15-6-2 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to the number of judges of Superior Courts, as to provide for a fourth judge of the Superior Courts of the Douglas Judicial Circuit, to provide for the appointment of such additional judge by the governor, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 88, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 15-6-2 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to the number of judges of the Superior Courts, so as to provide for a fourth judge of the Superior Courts of the Douglas Judicial Circuit, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 30th. Isn't this your first bill, Senator? Have you really? I think he's one of those House members that this thinks that seniority passes over here. Is that right?
I would say some of the greatest bills that came through this body had my name on it in the past.
I think it's his first time in the well, guys. So have at it.
It was not, but thank you, Mr. President. I wrote your name down so I didn't miss it this time. I'm bringing forward Senate Bill 88 for your consideration. It just adds a fourth Superior Court judge to the Douglas County Judicial Circuit. The circuit is ranked number 2 for a judge, and it's in the budget, and I appreciate your favorable consideration on this bill, and I would yield the well. Y'all attacked me in the past. Why?
I got distracted. Hold on now, Senator. Hold on. You do have a couple questions now, Senator. I know you spent 11 years over in the House, and you think you have this mastered and everything, but
Do not have it mastered. I was trying
recognize
to
Senator from the 31st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the almost great senator from West Georgia yield?
To my friend from West Georgia, I will. I-20.
Have you figured out, Senator, the distinguishment between the Speaker and the President of the Senate?
Well, to make sure I did write it down, Mr. President, not Mr. Speaker. So to make sure I did not make a mistake, I did write it down.
Do you know who's more powerful in this building? Is it the Speaker or the President of the Senate?
By far, is the President of this Senate.
Thank you. Great answer. The upper chamber.
Thank you. I yield the well. Thank you for your vote.
The senator has yielded. The senator has yielded. I tell you what. Senator from the 6th, for what purpose do you rise? You want to speak to the bill? All right, well, come on, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a little annoying when we got a House member come over here and yield the well without questions, and I take offense to that. And I thought I'd come down here and point that out because I remember his campaign when he was running for Senate, and here he is, this conservative guy, small government guy, and he brings us his first bill, and what does it do? It grows government. He's growing government with his very first bill, and then won't take questions on it. And I'm offended. I yield the well.
All right. Senator has yielded. Senator from the 27th. Your lights on? You wave? I know there was a lot of people that had their lights on, but they didn't get an opportunity to ask a question. Recognize Senator from the 42nd. right?
Mr. President, I move that SB 88 be recommitted to rules.
Would you like to come? Wait, would you like to come speak to your motion? Would you like to try to defend it?
I would.
You would? Well, here you go, Senator. I think Senator, the well. This is not the House. I mean, my goodness.
I will not be denied or allow you the ability not to attack me, so let's go with it. I thought the senator from the 6th asked me out of the well, so I was abiding by my rules chairman, who I admire very much and appreciate. So anyway, let's go.
You do have a couple questions. Senator from the 42nd, you like to ask him a question?
Does the senator yield?
For my good friend, yes, I yield.
Senator, of course, everybody will see this now. Isn't it true that in committee we had to do a substitute on your bill to correct some dates?
That is correct.
Do you further yield?
I do.
Isn't it true that the dates were actually all set back for an additional 6 months, meaning that your home, is this your home circuit?
It is.
Your home circuit will have to wait another 6 months to get the new judge. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you further yield?
I do.
Isn't it true that all these dates got pushed back because while you used to have really good House politics, your Senate politics weren't so great?
I will agree with that, and I appreciate the chairman of the 19th and his wise wisdom in helping me on this bill to make sure I had the dates properly for the budget, which he did an amazing job on for the budget for this body.
Do you yield for one more question?
100%.
I hate to do this, but isn't it true that because of you and the fact that you represent this judicial circuit, the citizens of this county will have to wait 6 more months to have additional justice for their court system?
That's a good response. I don't know if I can respond to that, but thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Recognize the senator from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, do you yield?
I yield to my friend.
I have a couple of questions, too, also relating to dates. You're starting this circuit, it appears, or this new judgeship, on July 1 of 2026. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Senator, will you further yield?
I will.
Are you aware that if you were to delay that potentially by based on the current years, who would name that appointment?
One more time, if I did right.
Based on your current bill and starting it January 1, 20 of 26, who would name that appointee?
Well, if you asked me to who would name an appointee, I'm going to go with the governor, but I could be wrong just by the way you asked that question.
Senator, will you further yield?
I will.
Are you aware that there's another election at the end of 2026?
Yes.
Senator, do you think that it might be wise to delay this bill one more year to perhaps allow someone else whom you're friends with and working on your politics in the Senate with to maybe make that appointment?
That's a very good point, but again, I took the wise wisdom from the committee and my friends from the Appropriations Committee on how to properly have this bill drafted.
Final question, Senator. Senator, if I were to do an amendment that were to change the appointed date of this by 1 year for the reasons we've already discussed, would you consider that amendment friendly?
I would consider every amendment that you make friendly to my legislation, Senator.
Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask for your favorable consideration.
We got one more question,
Okay.
Senator. Senator from the 8th.
Senator, to yield.
To my good friend, I yield.
Senator, isn't it true that you had your initial training in the legislature in the House?
That is correct.
So, Senator, before we vote on this bill in front of all our colleagues here, do you now consider yourself fully rehabilitated?
100%. Thank you so much. Ask for your favorable consideration on the bill, and I will yield the well.
All right, Senator. All right, Senator. Are you going to withdraw your motion, Senator, from the 40th? Okay. All right, good. He withdraws. All right. Any other senator wish to speak for or against this measure? Hearing none. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agree to the report of committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of growing government bigger than it already is and Carroll County will vote yay. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. Recognize the senator from the 6th. For what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. President, is it not true that this bill does not affect Carroll County? It's a different circuit.
I believe the senator knows what he speaks. Recognize the senator from 33rd. For what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Is it true that representatives from Carroll County are like diapers and must be changed often for the same reason?
Wow. I don't know. That's for each and every senator to decide. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48, the nays are 6. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Moving on to Senate Bill 145. Secretary?
Senate Bill 145 by Senator Burns of the 23rd and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 15-6-2 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the number of judges of Superior Courts as to provide for a 6th judge of the Superior Courts of the Augusta Judicial Circuit, to provide for the appointment of such additional judge by the governor, to declare inherent authority to provide for related matters, to provide for effective dates, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland, Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I bring you another good government bill. This is to add a 6th judge to the Augusta Circuit, which includes 2 of my counties, Richmond and Burke. And I want you to know that my friend from the 30th did a great job, and I need no hazing. So I would respectfully request your support for Senate Bill 145. And I yield.
Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary reads Senate Bill 153.
Senate Bill 153 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend the official code of Georgia annotated so as to revise, modernize, correct errors or omissions in, and reenact the statutory portion of said code as amended, and furtherance of the work of the Code Revision Commission to repeal portions of said code or acts in amendment thereof, which have become obsolete or have been declared to be unconstitutional, have been preempted or superseded by subsequent laws, to codify principles of law derived from decisions of the state Supreme Court, to provide for other matters relating to revision, reenactment, and publication of said code, to provide for effect in event of conflicts, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland, Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 50th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to bring you Senate Bill 153. This is the annual cleanup bill for the official code of Georgia. There's a committee that meets in between sessions that goes through and looks for typos, errors, any omissions throughout the code, and we pass this every year. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any, but if not, I ask for your favorable consideration.
You do have a couple questions, Senator.
Oh, boy.
Recognize the senator from the 14th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
I do.
Senator, this bill seems to go into every title of the Georgia Code to make some changes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And typically when we are asking whether something's germane in this body, we look to see whether it shows up in the same title, correct?
That's correct.
Senator, would you agree with me that a bill like this, because it opens every single title, is germane to every possible amendment?
You have a great point, and I think that's why we don't like to wait till the last minute to pass this one, because this could turn into a big Christmas tree on Sunny Day.
Has that ever happened before, to your knowledge, Senator?
Not to my knowledge. Every time I carry this, we try to get it out early.
I'm taking notes for next year, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you.
Recognize the senator from the 29th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield?
I do.
Senator, is it not true that y'all were so thorough into this legislation that on page 54 of this legislation, you went through and took out antiquated identifiers for those who work for sheriffs by changing sheriff deputy to deputy sheriff?
To my friend from the 29th, yes, we have replaced sheriff deputy with deputy sheriff, and that was this is in full support of the Georgia Sheriff Association and my good friend who's former law enforcement. I think this is the proper way to refer to deputy sheriffs.
We appreciate your thoroughness in this, and I know you spent a lot of time working on this legislation, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Does any senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 1. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Senate Bill, Secretary reads Senate Bill 152.
Senate Bill 152 by Senator Dolezal of the 27th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 2B of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated the Georgia Promise Scholarship Act so as to provide that the biological or adopted children of individuals who are foster parents and who meet certain conditions shall qualify for Promise Scholarship accounts, to provide for such conditions, to provide for definitions, to provide for related matters, to provide for an effective date, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Education and Youth recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Payne, 4th District, Vice Chairman. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Education and Youth offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 152, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2B of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to Promise Scholarship accounts so as to provide that the biological or adopted children of individuals who are foster parents and who meet certain conditions shall qualify for Promise Scholarship accounts and for other purposes. Mr. President, the minority report to Senate Bill 152 has been attached. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the Senator from the 27th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I bring before you Senate Bill 152, which is a way to say thank you and acknowledge the work of our foster families in the state of Georgia. And quite simply, what the bill does is it allows the biological children and the adopted children of parents who have fostered children here in the state of Georgia to be eligible for the Georgia Promise Scholarship. I think most of us were in this chamber last year, or perhaps even across the hall, when we passed the Georgia Promise Scholarship. Registration actually opens tomorrow for this, and the program goes into effect with next school year. And so we look forward to allowing these families to participate. Preemptively, want to talk about what's probably an obvious question that was discussed in committee, and which is a fair question that was discussed in committee, and that is, what about the foster children themselves? And we went through a number of steps to try to work this bill in its current form to include the foster families, but everything in the bill and in the Georgia Promise Scholarship Program is executed and managed by parents, the biological parents or the adopted parents of children. And so we are going to work in the off session to do the work that needs to be done to have that included. I believe there may be a study committee that will partially look at this issue as well. But I think it's also important to point out that DFACS currently has the ability, and in fact has over 100 students that they have approved for placement in private schools. Some of those who the state actually is paying for due to the unique needs of those cases. And so DFACS has a keen eye for the process of ensuring that those students are placed in the best educational outcome as it relates to the duration of their placement. In addition to that, the Georgia Promise Scholarship allows for homeschool expenses, and the DFACS foster program does not allow for homeschooling. So we're going to need to go in and do some extensive work to this bill to have that inclusion happen. Look forward to doing that next year. But as for the bill that is before you today, this is a important step to ensure that those people that take care of the most vulnerable in our population have an additional incentive to do so. And with that, Mr. President, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You do have a few questions, Senator. Recognize the Senator from the 2nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, do you yield?
I do.
Senator, I draw your attention to line 49. It says a foster parent means an individual who currently provides or at any time during the preceding 10 years has provided care, lodging, supervision, and maintenance for one or more children. Senator, if you were a foster parent in the preceding 10 years and you're not currently fostering, the way that is written, is it not true that you then qualify to receive this scholarship?
That is correct. Yes, Senator.
And Senator, do you further yield?
I do.
And Senator, so if the incentive is to get more people to foster, if you've already fostered a child and you currently don't have a child, why would we incentivize someone for work that's already been passed?
Well, we're going to continue to do that moving forward as well. So what this does is it establishes a look-back period for parents who are fostering currently but may not be fostering next year, for parents who foster next year but may not be fostering the year after. So we established this look-back period to have that incentive in there for all parents who have fostered in the state of Georgia in the last 10 years. Happy to yield for your next question.
And Senator, my final question, if you yield.
I do.
If a parent is already fostered and they don't currently have children, there's no incentive in this bill that if they get the voucher, that will make them or ask them to foster within the next year because they've already done it the preceding 10 years. So my question is, Senator, when will the voucher end for a foster parent after they've stopped fostering a child?
So the voucher, of course, is for the student, not for the parent. But the way the program works is once you are in the program, for all of those students, you remain in the program unless your family and your parents decide that they wish to remove you from the program and place you in your local public school.
Bring it down to Senator from the 44th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the chairman yield?
I do.
Thank you so much. Just have a few questions about the workings of the program since, as we know, it's kind of just starting. Can you please explain to me what system is set up within the Georgia Promise Scholarship Act or authority to prevent fraudulent or wasteful uses of the money?
Yeah, so there's a list of approved expenses that the commission has already made. There is then a third-party administrator that when a request for repayment is made or request for payment is made to the commission, they reconcile that against the list of approved expenses, and that is ultimately approved by the third-party administrator, and the funding, the payment is made.
Thank you. Now, I went back and looked at SB 233, I think is the number, and reading in line 520, it says the Education Savings Authority shall not adopt a system that relies solely on reimbursing parents for out-of-pocket expenses. So you would agree with me that receipts, for example, of a service already used are not a prerequisite to receiving the money under this program, would you not?
Senator, I didn't follow the question. I prefer if we could talk about the actual bill that's before us.
I'm getting there because
let's go
I
ahead and get
believe
there.
that your bill is feeding into SB 233, unless I'm sorely mistaken, which I don't think I am. Isn't that correct?
No, you're not sorely mistaken, Senator, but what we're doing in this bill, and I know you guys want to spend a lot of time relitigating what happened last year, but what we're doing in this bill is having a carve-out for foster families to allow them, I should say an eligibility expansion for foster families to allow them to participate in the program.
Well, I would like to read you the line again that I read you from the bill that I believe you were the author of last year. Isn't that correct?
Yes, but
yes. All right. So
we debated
it says,
that, Senator. I haven't yielded. We debated that bill last year, and I know you're desperate to re-debate that bill today. But I'm happy to have conversation with you about the bill that is before us. That what you are talking about is already settled law and is best left for a conversation, perhaps with legislative counsel or around a bill. If
would you agree with me, Senator, that the system in 233 operates differently, for example, than our health savings accounts, where we have to submit receipts for already used services versus what's in 233? Isn't that true?
The way that the accounts are set up is that, yes, you're allowed to pay for tuition before a student attends school, because that's the way that tuition is paid for.
Or other expenses, am I right? It's not just tuition, isn't that correct?
Correct. There's a list of approved expenses that are contemplated in the bill that have been refined by the commission.
And, Mr. Chairman, isn't it also true that there's another way to get certain services or expenses paid for under the Promise Scholarship rubric, which is actually outside the list of approved expenses, if you were able to get a majority of a parent committee to approve that expense? Isn't that correct?
There is a way to have approved expenses approved by the committee. I think that's what you were asking. Yes, I apologize. I didn't follow all of that.
Yes, Senator, I think you did understand me. Thank you. Are you aware that in Florida, families have used this taxpayer money for annual passes to Disney World and Universal Studios?
I'm not familiar with that in Florida. I can tell you I am familiar that Florida's program was so successful that was originally implemented under Governor Bush that just a couple of years ago, Governor DeSantis and the Florida legislature expanded it from its limited use to be a universal program in Florida, and they have appropriated about 10 times as much funding as we have to our current program. Yes, Senator.
Yeah, that is true. And are you also aware that families have also used it to purchase big screen TVs, PlayStation 5s, and stand-up paddleboards with taxpayer money?
Senator, it sounds like we might need Elon Musk to go down to Florida and look into what they're doing down there. I know that Governor DeSantis has implemented a DOGE Florida bill, and I would probably say that in all areas of government we can find examples of misappropriation of funds. and I would link arms with you in finding ways to find those.
Senator, thank you so much for yielding. I just have a couple more questions if you'd continue to yield, please. Following up on the line of questioning from the senator from the second, would you agree with me that the language in today's bill, the way it's written, does say that a family could have a foster child for a day, then say, it didn't work out, and then receive the taxpayer-funded voucher for the next 15 years?
Senator, I think we could imagine edge cases in which that would be the case, but I know that the 2,300 families who are currently fostering in the state of Georgia are not doing it for their daily stipend that they currently get paid, but they are doing it for love of the children and for desire to see some of the most vulnerable children in our state be taken care of. As we know, those are thousands and thousands of children, and these families are often stretched thin with their ability, multiple placements. There are families in this chamber who have been generous enough to foster children. I would not want to go down the path of preemptively maligning those families and say that they are somehow in it for the money, Senator.
Thank you, Senator, but you do agree, it sounded like, that the scenario I laid out actually could happen. Someone could have a child under your bill
Senator,
for one day. You did agree that could occur. Am I correct?
Senator,
I understand you don't
Senator,
you don't believe it's going to be everybody, but it is correct that could occur.
Senator,
right?
do you yield?
Okay. All right. Let's finish up.
Correct.
I believe I already said that. I think that you could manufacture a scenario in which that's the case, but I think that's a gross malignment of the foster families in the state of Georgia, and I frankly don't even feel that it's proper to prescribe that intent to the foster families.
Thank you. Senator, is it in fact true that you are against fraud, waste, and abuse in government programs?
100%, Senator.
Senator, it sort of seems that given what you just said, you are not following the intention of actually making sure that there is not fraud, waste, and abuse in government programs, because you just agreed that scenario could occur where someone, maybe not a current foster family, actually does sign up for the program to simply abuse it. Isn't that correct?
No, Senator, that's not correct. I think that to say that because it is possible that people can find ways to defraud a system, that we're not going to put a system in place, is really a logical leap that is more or less a desperate attempt to relitigate the passage of this bill that hopefully about 18,000 families will soon be taking advantage of.
Should we make it easy? Should I perhaps find out what Elon Musk thinks about this program?
Senator, ask if he could yield, please.
I'm happy to yield, Mr. President.
Those are my final questions. Should we make it easy? It seems to me that perhaps we need to consult Elon Musk, who may indeed find that setting up systems, wouldn't it be true, that are ripe for abuse may not be advisable use of government money. Senator, isn't that true?
Senator, I am glad to hear you acknowledge the expertise of Elon Musk to find waste, fraud, and abuse in government. I will tell you that he is very busy doing that right now at the federal level. And when he is done looking into millions and billions of dollars of payments, some of which apparently were earmarked for Stacey Abrams, I would be more than happy to have him take a cursory look at Georgia, where I think he will find that we run a pretty efficient government here in Georgia. But even with that, I'm certain that the most brilliant minds in America will be able to find waste, fraud, and abuse at any level of government, Senator.
Recognize Senator from the 41st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, do you yield?
I do.
So I'm looking at your definition of biological or adopted child and what that means, who can apply. And I heard your opening statement about wanting to work with foster children. But Senator, are you aware that there are children who are neither foster children nor biological nor adopted? Are you aware that there are other legal positions that children find themselves in?
Senator, I'm sure that you know what you speak.
Yes, so isn't it true that I am the permanent guardian of two beautiful children currently today?
I'm sure you know of what you speak.
Under your current
I've been
bill.
able to meet one of yours, but I think not the other one. But the one that I did meet was indeed beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. He is not my genes, but still. I'm just concerned that the reach of your bill does not include children like my own, who are permanent guardians. And I want to acknowledge we're not relitigating our previous bill from last year, but last year's bill, you do make it such that those children who are legal guardians, who are custodians, that they do meet the qualifications for the Promise Scholarship if they meet the other ones. But in this bill, you've limited it only to biological and adopted children. Isn't it true that there are a number of foster parents who become permanent guardians of their foster children, but do not go through the adoption process?
Senator, I would be happy to work with you in the House to make a change to this so that when we make that change and it comes back over, you can vote against it.
I would be happy to work with that amendment on the floor right now, but I am not making future commitments about voting for this bill.
Indeed. Thank you, Senator.
Recognize the senator from the 25th.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Thank you, sir. I have a couple down in Milledgeville. Over the span of their lifetime, they have fostered 58 children. I want to thank you for bringing this bill and all your hard work. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Recognize the senator from the 48th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the chairman yield?
I do, Senator.
Senator, I'd like to direct you to the minority report that's on everyone's desk. I think could give some clarification to the senator from the 42nd.
Okay, I have a copy of it here.
The fifth paragraph, first sentence, the false promise scholarship. I'm not sure what that is as a proper noun, false promise scholarship, but if we read the first sentence in the third paragraph, which states, we barely understand how this program works. So perhaps you and the senator from the 42nd could sit down and talk about this, and you could help her understand so we wouldn't be discussing bills from last year? Senator,
you're stealing part of my clothes, but yes, I usually, we get our daily news updates. Now we're getting our daily minority reports. I usually don't agree with what's in the minority report, but never has a truer sentence been written in a minority report. The quote, we barely understand how this program works.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? So I understand we do have a minority report. Senator from the 38th, are you presenting the minority report? You sure do present a lot of these for a freshman senator. All these good veteran senators you got over there, and you're always up here doing the minority report? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, before I begin, I want to commend you, Mr. President, on a very nice event last night for Black History Month. It was very well attended and a great time. Colleagues, I rise to speak against this bill. We've heard many of the reasons why this bill should not be voted for today. This bill purports to reward foster care parents. But the sad reality is it forgets the one thing we're rewarding them for. It forgets the kids. The kids are literally excluded from this bill. This morning I tried to go to Legislative Council to put together an amendment, a very simple amendment. But as we saw this morning, this bill was engrossed and we were not able to do that. That one simple amendment was going to be to insert the word foster prior to the word biological. Right now, we are given a $6,500 scholarship to students who are the adopted and biological children of foster parents. But we are not giving that same scholarship to the very foster children they will have in their households. So I want you to put yourself in the shoes of these foster kids. As we all know, typically foster children feel ostracized. They come into a household where there are already relationships developed, where they may feel a little jealousy in terms of the environment in which they're in. And now we're telling them to come into this house. The children of the parents can go to the private school that's down the street to the school that they have deemed to be the better school for their children. But we're telling the foster children, no, you have to go to the school that I have found to be ineffective for my own kids. This is wrong. I understand wanting to reward foster parents. And as I understand, 2,300 families are fostering children. That is commendable. And God bless them for the work that they are doing. This is truly God's work. But if we want to reward these parents, this is not the right way to do that. On February 14th, the list of schools that are eligible for families to now receive this scholarship was released. Tomorrow, they can start applying for that. What we're telling families is that they can now skip all of the families who actually qualify because they are in a failing school. This bill, which was not shared, allows them to skip ahead of the line. They now get to get in front of all of those children that would be eligible for this scholarship. So this is not about the voucher. This is really actually about fairness, and it's just not the right thing to do. In committee, we heard testimony from two amazing, lovely parents that are fostering kids. And I asked them 3 questions. 1, where does their children currently go to school? Their children already go to private schools. 2, is their schools on this list? Their answer was no, or they don't know. Actually, one parent said that they're zoned for some really good schools. And then the final question I asked was, will $6,500 cover the full tuition? The answer was no. This is unnecessary right now. When we talk about the fact that we don't understand the basics of the bill as it's already been passed, is the fact that this list was produced multiple times. The Governor's Office of Student Achievement is still trying to figure this out. It hasn't even been rolled out, and we're already trying to expand it. And I could also understand the argument that, hey, let's make this available for all parents. That's an understandable argument to make. And if that's the case, then we probably should do that instead of passing a bill that is truly unfair and saying, hey, we're going to reward you for fostering. We're going to use, unfortunately, foster children as pawns for you to get this voucher, but you can't use it for the kids that are in your household because you're fostering them. My understanding is that foster children are on average in a household for 24 months. So the argument can't be, hey, well, they're not in the family's home long enough, so it would be too difficult to make this work. And if the argument is, we have to work and try to figure this out with DFACS and how we can make this work, then let's wait and make it work. But let's not pass an unfair bill that is allowing for favoritism in a household. I'll close with this. I was blessed to be raised by my great-grandmother. And Graham was sweet, and, she was a pistol. But Graham showed favoritism, and I was that favorite. And I would feel so bad at times for some of my cousins because they felt ostracized by Graham. We're now making foster kids those kids that are being ostracized as it relates to them being sent to the school that their parents think is a good school. This is wrong. So if we want to talk about fairness, let's do that. If we want to make a real difference in the lives of our foster children, let's help them get a leg up and not brush them to the side like we're doing in this bill. With that, I will pause for questions if there are any. Otherwise, Mr. President, I will yield the will.
You have no questions.
All right, thank you.
Senator, that was, okay. the rules are, once we have the final report, then we close debate, so I'm sorry, Senator. Senator from the 27th, it's time to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe I know that when I referenced families in this chamber who have given of their time and treasure to take care of the most vulnerable children in our society, one of those families is the family of our appropriations chairman, and I believe that he was going to outline the process that you go through between interviews and home visits and interviews and home visits, and the long process that you go through to have the opportunity to bring these vulnerable children into your home. And he shared with me the stories of a young boy that was able to be part of his home. And I think that gets to the heart of what we're talking about here. And the attempt to dishonor those families or say that, well, isn't it possible that something can happen, really loses heart of the focus of the issue. And the focus of the issue is twofold. One, no matter what we do around the issues of choices and options for education, whether it's charter schools, whether it's homeschooling, whether it's school choice, the Democrat Party stands in opposition to it every single time. Yesterday, it was children of active duty military families that they voted against. Today, it will be foster kids that they voted against. Yesterday, it was homeschool kids that they didn't want to have the opportunity to take the PSAT and the SAT at school and have a fee that was waived if the students who are in that school also have the fee waived. Anything that presents an alternative from the mandated government one-size-fits-all, regardless of the outcome, education process in America, they fight it. The same way they fought sending the kids back to school during COVID, they fight this. And what we are seeing is record spending on education, both in the state and around the country. And at the same time our spending goes up, the scores go down. And what we are trying to do is to provide alternatives to solve that problem. This is one small way that we both help solve that problem, but that we also help the families who have reached out a helping hand and done, frankly, what many of us are not willing or able to do. And this is one small way that Georgians can invest in the children in those families, in the same way that we would invest in them, by the way, if they attended a public school. So, Mr. President, I know that we're in a posture, apparently a new day in this chamber, where we're opposing bills and seeing minority reports for the most common sense pieces of legislation. And we'll send this over to the House and make the changes that the minority whip talked about, because I think that is a valid conversation. We'll do the work that the Senator of the 38th and I have talked about in the off session to bring this back for foster children. The Senator from the 48th will have a bill before you within the next week that looks to take care of active duty military children. And sadly, I think the reality is that once again, it will be only the Republicans who stand for those families. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Senator's yielded. And the Senator has closed debate. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. Previous question is ordered. Question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. Report of committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. All opposed nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 32, the nays are 22. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Good job, Senator. Secretary read SR 247.
Senate Resolution 247 by Senator Gooch, the 51st, and others, a resolution commending Kelly Loeffler and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism recommends that this resolution do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Beach, the 21st District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize Senator from the 51st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I have before you a Senate resolution recognizing an extraordinary Georgian. Former Senator Kelly Loeffler was appointed by President Trump to serve as the administrator of the Small Business Administration in December of 2024. And she was confirmed just last week by the U.S. Senate. Senator Loeffler brings an impressive record of public service and leadership to the role. She led a successful business career in the automotive and the financial services industries and venture capital. She went on to become a key leader for the Intercontinental Exchange and later the New York Stock Exchange until shifting her focus to public service. When Governor Kemp appointed Loeffler to the U.S. Senate in 2019, she became the first female senator in nearly 100 years in Georgia's history. In the Senate, she championed policies that fostered economic growth, she cut burdensome regulations, and strengthened opportunities for American workers and entrepreneurs. Senator Loeffler's leadership was highlighted during COVID-19 pandemic, where she played an instrumental role in securing support for small businesses, such as the Paycheck Protection Plan, which retained over 1.5 million jobs here in Georgia. Today, she's back in D.C. fighting for our business community and generating opportunities for millions of Americans. I urge you to vote in favor of this resolution so we can recognize Administrator Loeffler's dedication to keeping the American dream alive here in Georgia and across this nation. In addition, we're fortunate to have Ms. Loeffler coming on Monday afternoon to be recognized here in this chamber, where she'll be receiving this resolution. So I encourage you to vote yes for this resolution, and I will yield the well.
Does any other citizen wish to speak for or against the resolution? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the reporting committee which is favorable to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the reporting committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Question is on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution vote yea. All opposed nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. Senator, for the 7th, what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that Kelly Loeffler has a PAC that attacks Democrats?
The senator is passionate about what she speaks. On the adoption of the resolution, the yeas are 35, the nays are 14. Resolution having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Recognize Senator from the 13th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that Senate Rule 4-2.1.a be suspended for a motion to withdraw and commit a bill.
Secretary Reed, is there objection to his motion? I'm sorry. Without objection. Make your motion again so the members can hear. I'm sorry.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that Senate Bill 284 be withdrawn from the Committee from Banking and Financial Institutions and be recommitted to the Committee on Insurance and Labor.
Is there objection? Sir, read the caption.
Senate Bill 284 by Senator Walker of the 20th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5, Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated the Georgia Uniform Securities Act of 2008, so as to authorize the issuance of orders by the Commissioner of Securities directing persons who have violated certain securities provisions to return to investors, consumers, or clients sums paid in connection with securities purchases, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to the motion? No? Without objection, motion. Senator from the 44th, I apologize. What
Thank you
purpose
so much,
rise?
Mr. President. This is a point of order. Can we hear again which committee we're going from and to? Because I missed that.
Come down to the well and explain it, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we don't have a time frame to get this bill in, and we're trying to move this bill from banking and financial institutions to insurance and labor. And both chairmen have agreed to it. Senate Bill 284. It's just no time frames. Mr. President, that's all I got.
All right, Senator, you yield the well. Senator's made a motion. Is there objection to the motion? Without objection, motion granted. Recognize Majority Leader for motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned pursuant to Senate Resolution 6 until 1:00 p.m. Monday, March 3rd.
Majority Leader has moved. Secretary, read the announcement.
Mr. President, the Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment in room 450 in the Capitol. The Regulated Industries and Utilities Committee will meet upon the adjournment of the Rules Committee in room 450 in the Capitol. At 2 p.m., the Children and Families Committee will meet in room 307 in the CLOB. The Interstate Cooperation Committee meeting has been canceled, and at 3 p.m., the Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security meeting will meet in Mez 1. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Here, all right. Majority Leader has moved that Senate stand adjourned until 1:00 Monday, March 2nd. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. Ayes clearly have it. Have a good weekend.